One of the most common things I've actually heard from some clients is that when they quit marijuana several times before, one of the issues that they ran into was the fact that they didn't have any energy even months after quitting. Now, what a lot of people fail to understand is marijuana in itself can actually affect our hormonal production. And when it affects our hormones, just like any other thing in life that can affect our system, it takes time for our body to recognize that it needs to A, balance things back out, and B, start producing more of a certain thing. So there's even studies that have been done on when you take supplements. It is called a supplement for a reason, is that you want to utilize it on some level, but you don't want to be dependent on it, because what will happen more often than not is your body will stop seeking to pull that from the foods that you're eating, the nutrition. So the supplement is really something that you can almost cause a dependency on, because your body realizes, I always get this in my diet. I don't need to go searching for this in other places. So it stops trying to absorb, other supplements that you're consuming, because you're always adding it. So if you stopped supplementing that thing after months of taking it, your body would have to remember, oh, we're losing this in our diet. I need to start pulling that from the foods that I'm consuming. And the same can be said for hormones. If you ever went on hormonal replacement therapy and then you get off of hormonal replacement therapy, one of the things that you'll find out is that when you come off of it, it takes your body months and sometimes even 6 months to a year for your body to start recognizing that it needs to start producing its own hormones, because it's not getting it from an outside source. If you look into the studies that are done about marijuana and testosterone, what you'll find is that the smoking of a single joint for the next 24 hours can inhibit your own production of testosterone, and it can also affect your estrogenic levels for both men and women. And this can have issues for both men and women, because we have both estrogen and testosterone on different levels, and how much you have of a certain thing can really affect your health overall. For men, we need a little bit more of testosterone. For women, there's estrogen that is beneficial to a certain level. But for men, it would not be good to have those same estrogen levels. So that's one of the things I think a lot of people fail to realize, is they say, I've quit marijuana now for several months, and I know I have a lot of hobbies and things I could be doing, yet I'm finding myself struggling to even have the energy going forward to do anything. I feel bored. I feel like I don't have the drive to go out there and do something that's different from me just sitting at home contemplating, why did I even quit smoking in the first place? Because I feel like I don't want to do anything. I have no will to do anything besides sitting at home. And so if your hormones are off kilter, they're not where they need to be in balance, this can really affect your overall perception and energy levels going forward. So that's where it kind of gets interesting, is that you really do have to kind of go through this transitional period to where your body recognizes, oh, I actually have to correct this and change it. And so when you've gotten off marijuana, a lot of the undesirable symptoms that can happen, such as insomnia, anxiety, depression, moodiness, mood swings, and loss of appetite, increased appetite, they're all very different. They're kind of like a fingerprint for all of us. It's not going to be the same for me as it might be the same for you. And if you look at some of the withdrawal symptoms, they're actually emotional in nature. So as much as there is the withdrawal symptoms for, getting off of marijuana and your body has to regulate its own hormones, well, it can also be said for the emotional components that also are withdrawal symptoms, such as anxiety, anger, depression, mood swings, and insomnia. Your body has been silenced or avoided by supplementing marijuana to feel good, to escape the reality that you struggle with. And so when your body finally is sober, those same issues are there. The anxiety, the depression, the things that you struggle with in your life to deal with, to cope with. And that's where even addressing the emotional aspects of withdrawal symptoms often lead one to not having withdrawal symptoms. So let's take an example. If you started smoking marijuana and initially it was just a way to have fun, hang out, and enjoy a social atmosphere with your friends, playing video games, eating junk food, I don't know. But whatever you started off on, you probably didn't have that much anxiety. And even if you did, you started smoking to help you with anxiety. Well, anxiety is the issue that you have, or the failure to speak up at your job, fear of being seen or understood, or self-advocacy is a problem that you have. So when you address the issues in your life, that desire to smoke marijuana isn't really there, because a lot of people that are long-term smokers are smoking to get through life because they don't feel like they can cope with their life anymore. They don't feel like they can handle the many ups and downs that just come with life, whether it's a loss of a job, loss of family members, dealing with conflicts, trying to find a way to enjoy life even when things are difficult, hobbies, interests, connections, relationships, finding your purpose. There's a lot of different variables in life that as we grow older, we tend to start looking at more deeply. But if you're escaping yourself, your body will even try to recalibrate. It'll actually bring up to the surface all of these withdrawal symptoms to communicate to you that, hey, this thing you've been avoiding is now coming up to the surface because you're no longer shoving it down with marijuana. And now here, look, help us. Let's get over this anxiety. Let's get over this depression. So it brings that stuff up in a very potent way. And if you know how to address the subconscious aspect of it, and really what do I mean by that? It's actually pretty simple. When you first probably started driving a vehicle, you weren't that good at it. If anything, you had to put a lot of intention behind the wheel of a car. You had to learn how to brake properly and create a distance between you and another car, how to not accelerate too hard on the green light, and how to, know the proper blinkers. Where was the windshield wiper, buttons and stuff. So you've had to learn initially, but after a while, you don't think about that anymore. You just get in your car, you turn it over, and you drive. It takes no real thought. So a lot of our habits become subconscious. What you continuously do becomes subconscious in nature. It's just like riding a bicycle. When you were younger, you had to get training wheels. You had to actually get good at riding a bike. And now as an adult, it's probably a lot more difficult for you to fall off of a bike than it was for you when you were a child. Hence, you don't need the training wheels. It's now something you don't think about. It's just something that you can do. It is a habit. It's who you've become. And so if you have been somebody that escapes themselves for a very long period of time, that's who you are. That's a part of your personality now. And so these things that come up to the surface are your body's way of communicating to you that it's time to address these things. So not only getting to the root cause of why you're smoking and resolving that is going to help you stay off of marijuana going forward, but for the 10% of clients that after that still experience some withdrawal symptoms, I still help them get through that by actually just addressing the emotional aspects that come up. So they quit and they're like, man, I'm struggling with anxiety and depression. Well, we're also going to address that for you. And once you've addressed something on an emotional level, the need for that emotion is no longer there. To give you one last example before I get off of this video, it's pretty simple. Anxiety when you're first driving a car is there to make you hyper vigilant. It's there to really help you understand that you need to be focused and lasered in. Anxiety tends to serve a purpose. Anger tends to serve a purpose. Maybe it's encouraging you to self-advocate, set boundaries, speak up for yourself. And it's only there because you're not actually comfortable. You're not comfortable doing what's required for that anxiety to go away. You're not doing what's required for that depression to go away. You're not doing what's required for that anger to go away. Why is that? Is it a fear? Is it, an insecurity? And so when we dive into a session, there's a lot of questions that in the beginning are very conscious in nature. It's what you think the problem is. And that's just not really the case, because as we go through the deeper layers and I notice little subconscious cues that come up in our conversation, I better navigate these questions. I better understand what's going on till there's this aha moment where you realize, wait a second, I don't know why I don't speak up for myself. I should be speaking up for myself, and if anything, I'm going to. And so a lot of what you think the problem is usually not the problem. Because if it was, you would have fixed it already, and you wouldn't have anxiety. You wouldn't have depression. You wouldn't have these issues. Oftentimes, people turn to marijuana because they don't know what the problem is. They understand on some level they struggle with things, but they don't know how to resolve it. It's because it's subconscious. It's because a habit of yours. And until you've addressed it at that level, you're just going to be really good at staying on your bike or driving your car without thinking about it, or having anxiety. You'll be really good at that. You'll be really good at having depression. You'll be really good at having anger issues and mood swings. But once you satisfy the central nervous system's need to keep you in this survival mode, you'll no longer struggle with those things. Sure, some things will be anxiety inducing, but it will be fleeting and it will be minimal in experience. It won't be this consistent theme in your life. So if this is something that you're struggling with, when you've decided that you've realized that anything you've tried in the past didn't really work, because you wouldn't still struggle with anxiety and depression and marijuana addiction, reach out. I'll be more than glad to help.